Before I get started, I think with a key message I think that you are hearing from Sid, from Jason, from myself is that edge computing is not just a vision. It's not just a future. It is actually here and now. And we're taking advantage of cloud and edge technologies, like in case of Kone, to truly deliver amazing experiences to city dwellers. So what I'd like to do in the next couple of minutes is to invite you on a little bit of a trip to explore co-innovating urban journeys. And you'll be joining my wife and I in Chicago. We are just getting ready for a couple of days of meetings, and unfortunately, my wife gets sick. So we order some medications from the pharmacy a couple of blocks away. We order some food items that she wanted. And yes, you guessed it. So we have a robot moving from the pharmacy a couple of blocks towards the hotel, delivering medications, and we have a drone flying with food items. And you can say, all right, is it real? We've been talking about drones and robot deliveries for a while now. You've heard the announcements from Amazon, from FedEx. They're kind of scaling down their robot and drone deliveries. But I can tell you it definitely is real. Last year, I spent a couple of months in China, and I got a lot of my deliveries, actually, through robots and drones. And our company's headquarters is in Espoo in Finland. And if you go to Espoo, you would see little robots roaming the streets and delivering food items from grocery stores to our homes, especially in the winter. It actually comes in handy. So yes, this stuff is real. But anyway, these both a drone and the robot deliver their payload to sort of a delivery area in the hotel. The payloads are being transferred to robots inside the hotel. These robots quickly go to the elevators that are already waiting for them, go to the 41st floor, deliver medicines and food items to my wife. And of course, these are great examples of edge in action when we actually using both edge processing, edge sensing, inference engines in these cases as well. So as my wife is being taken care of, I am ready. So I call the elevator and go down to the lobby. And of course, the elevator is working because we're running predictive preventive maintenance on it. In this case, we can anticipate roughly 70% of all the failures before they occur. And these numbers actually keep increasing every year. And in the elevator itself, in the car itself, we're running actually two visual sensors that can sense, for example, how many people are in the elevator. If somebody is bringing, let's say, e-scooter, which could be a kind of a fire hazard, if there's some unruly behavior, whatever the use cases the customer requires. And yet again, as Sid talked about some of the drivers for the edge, we're processing all of this data locally in full compliance with privacy and GDPR rules so that no personal information, no people's faces and so forth are being transferred. We just get the insights from the car. And then I exit the building, go to the building next door where Kone's office is, and I've been there a couple of times. So my app, my Kone employee app is actually interacting with the infrastructure, and I seamlessly go through the turnstiles and being guided to elevator C and go to 12th floor where my first meeting is happening. As I'm going through the process, I notice there's a couple of other people approaching the elevator bank, and I realized that we're actually running a little bit of an experiment there. We're looking at sort of different people's behavior. One person is clearly in a rush. They're walking back and forth, and there are two people drinking coffee and chatting. So we can detect that, and we can potentially say, all right, this person that is in a rush, maybe we should give them sort of priority and get them to the elevator 10 or 20 seconds earlier, versus people who are chatting, maybe it's okay for them to wait. We're not sure whether this functionality is useful, but we're just testing it in the process. And I can spend another 2 hours giving you all kinds of use cases for cloud and edge applications across every industry. But I think you starting to get the message, right? That when you think about Kone, we are a 123-year-old company. We traditionally have been developing elevators and escalators, doors, turnstiles, and these types of equipment. But over the last 2 decades, increasingly, we started focusing on delivering experiences to city dwellers. And Kone's mission is to improve the flow of urban life. I actually joined Kone 3.5 years ago, and primarily because this mission actually spoke to me. I was inspired by it, and I actually adopted the mission. Because when you think about it, there's roughly 1 billion people that use Kone equipment and services and solutions every single day. 1 billion people. And we thought, would it be nice if each of us city dwellers, could actually move around buildings, neighborhoods, and cities with smiles on their faces. And that's what we actually set up to do, this is what all these examples and use cases are all about. It's like, how do we truly enjoy our experiences in cities, maybe before we start venturing outside into the space. So we're testing that. But we also realized that in order for us to offer these types of scalable experiences across multiple cities, across millions of buildings, we needed a scalable architecture. And that's why we partner with AWS. Traditionally, we've been sort of a cloud-native company, and we've been one of the early adopters of cloud. And like probably many of you, we've been sort of infatuated with this idea of data as a new oil. We've been collecting all kinds of data, sending all the raw data to the cloud. But then over the last 5 to 7 years, we realized that data is not equal, that we should be smarter about it. And that's why we started to think about this sort of a cloud edge continuum. When you think about, let's say, our 24/7 connected services, the predictive preventive maintenance service, do we really need to register all the sequence of events that are happening? Or maybe we just sort of do a sampling every 15 minutes or so, how many times the door on the 5th floor has opened, how many starts and stops the elevator had, what was the total length of the trip that the elevator has taken. And then process the data locally and just send the insights to the cloud. The same for video and sensing and so forth, right? If we actually optimize the use of the edge, we can reduce the number of, the amount of data that we transfer or we store by 80 to 95%. And the good news is that as Sid has been walking through some of the services that are available, that we've been actually able to roll out a lot of these services fairly easily by leveraging the AWS services. So this preventive predictive maintenance service that I mentioned, we actually have close to 300,000 of elevators already using our predictive preventive maintenance service, and our customers actually paying for it. And the process is fairly straightforward, right? So we ingest the data into AWS IoT Core. Then we use a managed Kafka service to move the data real-time into Kone Analytics engine. We're leveraging services like Glue and EMR to process the data. And then we use the sort of universal APIs that Sid talked about to send the insights and outcomes to either our technicians or to our customers as well. Maybe one more example. When the pandemic started, one of the key use cases that our customers have asked for is, hey, Kone, can you help us move or enable people to move from, let's say, a train station or parking lot to their office or to their apartment. And in order to enable this kind of a smooth trip in a timely and sort of a safe manner, we would typically interact and integrate with 9 different classes of partners. And from that perspective, as Sid mentioned, having a consistent set of APIs that we can integrate with partners, whether this is in the cloud or in different stages all the way to the edge, has been extremely useful for us because it gave us the ability to build flexible sort of engagement models with customers and provide these kind of services in a consistent way. So we talked about that at some point we may be actually building cities in the future. One of the things that we actually have been experimenting is using our mind to control the infrastructure. You can see on the picture here, I've been sort of testing this concept of putting this little helmet on and using my brain to call the elevator. And actually, the technology works pretty well. But it's probably fair to say that the commercial viability of these types of interactions is probably a couple of years away. But the good news is that using today's technologies that we've been discussing in this session, we can offer amazing experiences to city dwellers. So what I'd like to do is to invite you to join us in this quest. Let's work together to develop amazing services and solutions. You can do it easily if you are AWS customers already. We can integrate our solutions together. Let's work together to provide amazing experiences for city dwellers. And yes, let's work together to make sure that every person who lives in cities can move around buildings, neighborhoods, and cities with smiles on their faces. So please join us.